this was, third week of October 2019. And I leave the country, and then I had to be out for 3 months because of overstaying the visa. And early 2020, I come back to the Middle East to I had some winter, like in the winter months, I'm doing tours and research of the Exodus. I'm in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. And I remember I was in Jordan. I just finished a tour, and my friend invites me to, I had some time to kill. So I go to Turkey. It was end of February, and I'm there, and all this news started coming up. Like, oh, there's this pandemic, this virus is spreading around the world. And so then by the 1st of March, we get news that Saudi Arabia, it was closing all their borders. You couldn't even leave the country if you were there. And Turkey was also have these really strong, stringent requirements for entering if you don't have like the vaccine shot or whatever. And so it was very difficult to move around and travel. And I had to cancel because I was the 1st of March, I had a tour for Saudi Arabia of over 20 people. And I remember it was thankfully the border closures happened like 3 days before the tour started. And when I saw that news, I immediately contacted my group, and I was in Turkey, and I said, "You guys don't come to Saudi for the tour. This where you're going to be like you can't get in anyways." And so I was thinking, okay, what did I do? Should I just go back to the US and wait this out? No one had a clue of how long this would last. What is this pandemic? It was like kind of a new thing, of course. And so my friend said, "Why don't you stay here?" He had actually surprised me when I got there and had built a little you say like a condo, like a one room, like a hotel sized room, but it had a kitchenette, a bathroom, shower, and then the bed and an office area. So it was all in this little area he had built this on his property. And he said, "Look, this is for you to use whenever you come here, so you don't have to pay for the hotel." And he said, "Pay for a hotel." And then he was telling me like, "Well, now we don't even know if the borders will reopen for, who knows, 6 months, a year later." So, he thought it was best if I stayed there, and I could see why later, I helped with his bills and everything. But I also, this was a good thing, and he was right, that I got to get to know the locals by living there that long. And that was when I moved there. I decided, okay, the year before was we had good and bad. My parents passing away. That was a year my landlord too said, "Hey, you're gone." And I was in Turkey when this happened. He said, "I'm going to sell the house," and so I had to put everything in storage. And thankfully, I had some friends and family members do that. So basically, I had nothing to go back to. It was all in storage. And then now the pandemic hit, and I'm thinking, okay, my friend has a place for me to stay here. I could then, like as he said, get to know the locals, the officials, try to do some work, being stuck, staying in Turkey. And that's what I did. So in March of 2020, or into February, I stayed there. And until now, I go back and forth, but over half the year I'm there. And so this was early, 2020. The government, the first part of the year, we couldn't do much. I remember it was Ramadan too, so it's not like I could have meetings with officials or anything. It was just mainly just hanging out, watching Netflix. They're stuck at house. In fact, the Turkish government, they had stringent requirements, like you could only walk to the nearest supermarket near your house. They found you at another supermarket and they looked at your address, you had to be fined big time. They had these penalties, and so not much you could do for a month or two.